Hey everyone, welcome to episode 60 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. Welcome back, I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Tithe Ben.
Hello, hello.
How you doing, man? All right?
Yeah, I'm good. From the pixel dimension, looking massively lockdowny.
Well, the good thing is...
the camera on to see this episode and realise, oh, geez, I really look like that.
For those of you watching on YouTube, Ben's feed is coming from the cartridge gaming era, so I'm not sure what's going on. Tiff's watching The Crown. I'm going to assume it's that.
We can go with that, I think. Yeah, Alison's playing some kind of game, so probably that.
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. Other than not shaving, how's things, right?
Yeah, pretty good. All things considered, pretty good.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. The world is it's got grim again, hasn't it? Which is a bit sad.
It is, but make do. You got to make do. Keep going, and we'll back on the tabletop hopefully soon. So.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully everything's going all right. And hopefully everybody out there who's listening is all right, is well and safe. So it's episode 60 of the podcast, which is pretty sweet. I'm like, it's funny. The numbers are creeping up and up and up.
Should got some like celebratory drinks or something,
Yeah.
I didn't realise this.
Oh, well, before prepping, Tiff was like, right, you should have wine. You should have wine. I was like, wine. She's like, do a wine cast, Ben. Do a wine cast.
That'll be episode 100.
Yeah, just smashed. Well, we're doing the whole healthy start to January thing, and it's. I'm not eating a lot. I was like, if I drink wine, I'll just be a state. Wine, beer,
it's
whatever.
A month's allowance of calories or something.
That's it. I was like, I don't know how many points that is, but yeah, I imagine all of them. Anyway, Ben, episode 60. What are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about Blood Bowl Sevens, our favourite topic.
Oh yeah.
We'll also be having a first look at some tournament formats, various tournament formats we've seen, and also the usual games, hobby, and star players.
That's right. We've talked Blood Bowl 2020 to death, and there's nothing new coming for the time being. We were waiting for the NAF to update the Blood Bowl Sevens set. Hasn't happened yet. Doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. So we updated it ourselves. We're going to talk through that, but we're just going to talk through how Sevens is going to play out, really, with the change of Blood Bowl 2020. And then, we've got the first few tournaments of the year have kicked off. Yep. Obviously, nowhere near here. It's America and Australia, and it's cool to see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the formats, and we're going to speculate what tournaments are going to look like when the world fully reopens. So without further ado, we'll bounce straight into news, because we've actually got a couple of things to talk about this week. Okay, it's Blood Bowl news. So we did get a little bit from Games Workshop. Not a lot, but we've seen another miniature. They revealed Gretchen. So put the link in the show notes and we'll just talk through this. So they released one of the pitch side reports that they said they were going to be doing regularly. I don't know if they said monthly or just more often. And they have spoiled the Gretchen miniature, which just looks like halfway between a Banshee and a human catcher. Basically, it's got human catcher armor and just ghost form with the classic ball and chain joke there on the bottom. What do you think to the mini, man?
I actually really like this mini. I like it. I think the hands personally could be a bit more claw-like to fit the artwork. Otherwise, I think it's a pretty cool mini.
Yeah, you are right. It doesn't look an awful lot like the art.
No.
But I think that's fine, because the miniature, I think, looks better than the art. She's got slightly more of a nose. Anyway, the art that was in, this is old art now, isn't it? I say old art. This is from like the olden days of 2018, where we could go outside. There was this.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of like substance this new mini. I think like there's stuff to paint. I feel like if it was like the old one, it would fall apart on the first block. Like as soon as you like laid it down, it would just. I'm kind of like glad there's a bit of chunk to this new one.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I like the whole chains thing, and she's clearly not got legs, even though the shape of the legs is in the dress.
It's clever. It's like how the ghosts in the necromantic team have like you can see a helmet under there.
Yeah.
It's like the spirit is there and it's being like somewhat like semi-corporeal, but invisible. Pretty cool.
The really funny thing is, the internet was immediately like, "Yep, she's definitely got hands," because the star player doesn't have hands, because it has a no hands rule. And,
I know.
We all know that's to represent being a ghost and stuff, and that's absolutely fine. It was just really funny how literally the first comment I read was, "She's clearly got hands, Ben." I was like, okay, brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Gretchen, though, it's a lovely miniature. I'm just not convinced we're going to see her on the tabletop very often, which is a shame.
I just think it's the rules, right?
Yeah, man. I think it's the cost. It's just 260k. Movement 7, Strength 3, Agility 2+, Armor 9+, Disturbing Presence, Dodge, Foul Appearance, Jump Up, Loner 4+, No Hands, Regeneration, Shadowing, and Sidestep. And once per game, after making an Agility test, she can add a Strength to it. So basically +3 to a Dodge. So she's like, once per game, she will just go into any cage anywhere and make a 1-die block.
Yeah.
But she's got no combat powers. If she had Wrestle, even just Wrestle, she'd be a tank.
It'd be something.
Yeah, but for 260k, the problem is that Wilhelm Chaney is just so much better.
It's always the case, isn't it? There's just better things to take, and
it's just
real
faster
no-brainer things to take.
And stronger, and handle the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. However, the mini is absolutely lovely.
Yeah, if you are fortunate enough to get your hands on one, I think it would be a nice alternative wraith in a necromantic team, at least.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She'd be a pretty good wraith. If like one levels up, especially, you could really identify it as being like a star wraith.
Yeah,
like your own wraith.
I tell you what, I've seen absolute tons of people use like alternate wraiths. One of my favourites, I think I chucked it into the group chat, was someone's just taken the whites from the undead team and just painted them as ghosts. Like, that's literally it.
Simple.
And it looks awesome. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, you've got this. And then, he's just got the 2 ghost miniatures. So it's a really good way to combine the undead team. Because I'm not a fan of the ghouls from the necromantic team, but I'm basically a fan of everything else in that team. So if you've got both your zombies and things like that, it's a good way to kind of just build your teams to be 2 teams.
Definitely.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool. This is going to be Forge World, though, isn't it? Or at least...
Does it say specifically? But I imagine it would be, right?
I think it's because it goes for pre-order on the 29th. What's that? Is that next week?
Right.
Yeah. So
Friday.
This podcast comes out on Saturday, the 20th. I don't even know what the day is anymore. Saturday the 23rd.
Saturday before then.
Yeah. So when you hear this podcast, it'll be coming out for pre-order on the Friday, and that means we're pretty guaranteed that's going to be Forge World, isn't it? Forge World stuff goes up on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be £24 for the miniature.
That's a lot. Yeah, that is the price of the necromantic team. So
it's more. If the necromantic team is like £20 and 75p or something from any third party. So yeah, it's really
stop it. There's no need. Come on.
It's just baffling. I mean, I've got Roxana, I've got a couple of other Forge World miniatures, because when you run out of teams to buy, picking up something for £25, and when you've got a down month, when you've got a hobby month, it's kind of like nice. Like, it's just, you can pick up a miniature to paint. It's like, my paint project this month is going to be Roxana Darknail, or or Gretchen, because this model does look sweet. It
is nice. But is it £24 nice?
Oh, it's just £8. You can get the Mermorn Banshees, and you're done. Twice over. Just go halves with someone, and for £4 you can have both wave ghosts. I don't know. It's cool, and it's great to see more releases come out.
As well.
Was that?
Yeah. No, I was going to say then those Banshees are also really, really nice models. So,
yeah, the Mermorn ones are really sweet. I need to dig out the because there's rules for them in Underworlds. I think those 4 Mermorn Banshees form an Underworlds team.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, no, they do, yeah, because they did the one where it's just sort of like existing kits, didn't they?
Yeah, and I really like those miniatures, and I've got a sealed box somewhere in the cupboard, and it gives you an excuse to kind of paint for Blood Bowl and for Underworlds. I was like, multiple hobby goals here. Anyway,
That was the justification.
yeah, well, that's it. You need to justify your actions. Yeah, Gretchen coming out soon. That will be everything but Rumbelow. Everybody but
Yes.
Rumbelow then. And I don't know. Do you think we're going to see the undead guys soon?
What, the
Wilhelm
name
and
Skrull?
Frankenstein. Well, Skrull's been spoiled, hasn't he?
Oh, do you mean like for the necromantics? Like,
Yeah, the Spike 11
yeah.
guys. So Wilhelm
Yeah, I think
Cheney.
so. Yeah, I would like to at least. I think there's, you can kind of guarantee whatever they are, they're going to be very cool.
So what did we say last podcast? I said we're going to see a Squig team this year. You said you're going to see a Slanesh team this year, or a Slanesh player versus a Squig player. Do you think we'll see another team before we see the Spike 11 stars? Because
Yes,
you
I
think
so.
we will. You think we will?
Yeah, I think we will. I think the sort of progression moves a bit faster, I think, for the teams than the Forge World stuff.
Yeah, that's got to be a Games Workshop Forge World split. I mean, we're still waiting on most of the Horus Heresy stuff from like 4 years ago.
That's true.
Which is
very true.
Which is a shame because all the Marines got bigger now, so it's not an ideal situation for that game. But yeah, Blood Bowl wise, Gretchen's come in, and that's pretty cool. And I would expect maybe to see Skrull on order at the same day. I think I will pick up Skrull, regardless of price.
Weirdly, I think I prefer this miniature, but Skrull is infinitely more useful as a player.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Would it be the worst thing in the world to just glue a ball to this model's hand and use it as Skrull? I'll meet you halfway, Games Workshop. I'll take the really nice miniature. I actually do really like Skrull as well. The flame artwork. Oh, this one's got flame artwork as well.
Yeah, they've both got that. Yeah,
which is
very old school.
Which is fancy. But yes, that is it for miniatures news. There is a couple of Kickstarters coming soon, but they're not live yet. We'll tell you when they go live, and just keep an eye on the YouTube channel. And I'll go through like what's coming up and the different things. I had a look at the WA Games ones coming, and there's a few other ones that have got some miniatures worth picking up, and it's pretty cool. So next thing, oh yes, of course, we're going to talk about this. So we talked the episode before, about doing a Fumble tournament. We ended up deciding against it because there is a NAF tournament that's going to happen around about the exact same timeline. Mm-hmm. So we thought actually that seems a bit silly. If there's I know we go for the silly teams, but actually if there's going to be a big, cool, high-profile tournament, it makes way more sense to just
have more players at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I would like to take part in this one, and I wouldn't have time to take part in 2 tournaments, I think. So I like this. I like the idea. So this is going to be Steel Bowl Online 2020. So Steel Bowl is a yearly actual real-life tournament, but the whole idea is it's a tournament that allows you to say farewell in British fashion to Blood Bowl 2016 rules on Fumble. As it's looking right now, this will be the last NAF tournament before everything officially switches to Blood Bowl 2020. So this podcast is coming out on the 23rd. You need to get your teams in on the 23rd. So if you're listening today, hurry up and get your teams in. It's funny, like it's a NAF tournament on Fumble. I love Fumble, and I tend to keep an eye on what's happening in the NAF, and I completely missed this one. If it wasn't for Mike Davies messaging me saying, "Hey, can you get the word out about this one?" I don't think I would have known it was going on.
I mean, I guess I've sort of dipped off social media as well because I didn't know about this. But I guess, unless you get told about it, it's difficult.
Yeah, so this could be cool. So it is a 6-round tournament, 1 a week, and that's I think that works so well. I mean, that's what we've done.
1 a week is always good. It's like not too much, not too little.
Yeah, it's enough. I mean, we've got the Wobble Fumble League on the moment. That's 1 game a week. I've got my game against Milton tomorrow night. That'll be quite entertaining. I goaded him and he's gone with Bretonians just to make the most of them while they're still. So it's going to be Slan versus Bretonian in the Wobble League.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Just get the games in now while you can before Bretonian disappear and all the Slan's ability to pass the ball goes away. But back on this tournament, it's an interesting build. Basically, it's got 6 tiers. It's 1200k, and you get some skills as well. It cannot be combined with the initial team budget. Tier 1 teams, Dark Elf, Lizards, Wood Elves, Undead get 100. Tier 2 is Amazons, Chaos Dwarf, Norse, Skaven get 130. So the fact that Skaven get 130 is actually quite interesting to me. there's no skill stacking. The same skill can be bought 2 times max. It's all really kind of ordinary stuff that you saw back in the day in Blood Bowl 16. Tier 3 Bretonnians, Elven Union, High Elf, Human, Necromantic, Old World Alliance, and Orc. Interesting to see Old World in Blood Bowl 2016 at Tier 3. And just Renegades at Tier 4, Renegades and Tomb Kings. And then everybody else is Tier 5, with the exception of all 4 stunty teams, which get 230k's worth of stats. So that's pretty cool.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's an absolute ton of stuff, but I just don't think the stunty teams get so much better in Blood Bowl 2020 that they just don't seem as fun in Blood Bowl 2016. I love Snotlings when I played Snotlings on Fumble in how they are now, and they're okay, but because they drop 25% in price, they go down from 20k to 15k, you just get you get a load more stuff. It's funny to say, obviously, you get like an extra 40k, which is another reroll, most of another reroll and stuff. And I know I like the Blood Bowl 2020 rules. I've come to really like them. But yeah, get you registered on the 23rd. The first round's 25th to the 31st of January. It's going all the way up, and the 6th round is the 1st of March to the 7th of March, and it is the classic Fumble tournament. So you get paired up, then PM your opponent, get it booked in. I think it's going to be good fun. It is NAF. If you are NAF, you can get rankings for your 2016 version of your rankings.
That's the NAF. It's not NAF. I'm sure it'll be a good tournament. It's not a NAF tournament.
It shouldn't be a NAF tournament. It should be a Fumble, fantastic tournament with loads of cool sound effects and stuff. So now there is a NAF tournament, and I'll put it in the show notes. It is Steel Bowl Online 2020, so you've still got a little bit of time to get signed up. Come and join in. I'm going to be playing. I think I'm going to put a little post up, a little video on YouTube, and just get people to pick what team I apply with, because I think that'll be quite entertaining. It'll probably be Snotlings, so but
of course I will.
Yeah,
Snotlings are good usually, isn't it?
Yeah, what can you do? So news wise, that is it for bits and bobs. Hopefully we'll see some more of the stuff that's upcoming land in the next couple of weeks, but we do have a couple of Patreon shout outs to say. So we do have a Patreon where you can get access to our content early, and we'll ask you questions. We've got a competition going. We do competition every month. We've got a Name My Necromantic team one at the moment, and there's some fun ones there because I'm going with a spider theme and I just don't know what to name them. So you got the Patreon team are helping with that. Winner gets a prize. And so we've got a few thank yous to say. We've got a ton of new patrons this month. So I just want to say thank you to Stony No Name, Carlos Gill, Sundered Psyche, Cooper Stokes, Owen Crossweller, Anthony Sweetman, Dean Goldsmith, Clive the Kiwi, Jeffrey Polly, Paul Harrison, TD Customs, Anton Nistrom, Dan Roundtree.
And also Robbo Whale, Adam Pike, Henning Horgham, David Coman Heidi, Indre Mergster Bratton, Nick Roberts, John Redmond, Oscar Hager, Stephen Knowles, Steve Wolfhard, Charlie Vanderboom, Jared, Xavier Dunwich, and Dave Dragon.
I think I'd assume that somehow we've got it wrong, but that Sindre, that was good. That was well done, I think.
You just got to go for it. I'm sure I did it wrong, but I have the confidence.
Yeah, no, it sounded promising, even if we got it wrong. So sorry if we got it wrong, but yeah, thank you to everybody who supports the show by messaging, by taking part in what we do, or by joining us on Patreon. It's just awesome. I'm going to be honest with you, it's really helping me keep going this year. It's funny, I was talking to somebody, Phil, earlier today, who's got in contact, and he was like, just having a little chat, and I was like, actually, being able to talk with all of you guys about Blood Bowl has really distracted me this year, and it's been really sweet, and it's been really fun. I've actually had, for a lot of the time, quite a lot of fun this year, and that's been nice. 2021 though looks garbage so far, so that's awesome. So
it'll redeem itself if we can play Blood Bowl on tabletop at some point this year. Who knows when it will be, but we can get our leagues done this year. Fingers crossed. So it might be a good year.
So we can go into kind of spitballing now. I think March might be too early for a tournament. Maybe April though. Maybe April. Maybe May.
Might happen.
It would be nice if I could get married in May. That would be sweet. We're not doing a wedding. We've pushed the venue back for a year, so we're doing like a 1-year anniversary party instead. which
that'd be nice.
Yeah, hopefully we can get away without most of the wedding tax that way as well. So because it's no longer a wedding, so we're still getting married in theory, unless everything goes to absolute heck. But if we could find a way to sneak in a tournament, I imagine it's going to be. I mean, we'll talk more about this in the tournaments bit, Ben. But I imagine it's going to be like pods, like we did at Mega Ball.
Yeah, that did work though. I was quite a fan of that format. So I think it could work. I think it will be that if it's that early. Maybe later in the year. Again, we don't know. I think they said in the UK they're trying to vaccinate every adult by September.
Yeah.
That's probably going to change.
It's probably going to be delayed.
That would be a good sign at least, surely.
Yeah, that would be really, really, really cool. But yeah, I think if you think about the timeline, there's a high probability this entire year is going to be restricted on tournaments and things like this whole year. Because if they're going for the vaccinations in UK for September, then realistically, there's still going to be restrictions in place up to September. And then it's Christmas and winter. And I think, so, all right. We'll better get planning our 2022 tournaments. But we'll still do what we can, because it would be sweet to make the most of this new edition and these new teams, because there's an absolute ton of cool stuff. But we'll talk more about that in tournaments. Ben, I think we've wrapped up everything for news.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's have a chat about hobby. So Ben, I can see you've been doing some hobby while we're recording. I've seen your little bits of printed resin looks like been floating around just at the bottom of the camera screen. What are you working on, man?
Yeah, just randomly I decided to print out a bull centaur today. Don't know if that's going to show up on camera. I'll just do that.
That's showing up.
So I've got a little side project with some printed dwarves for AOS, but I'm not meaning to go back to them anytime soon, really. But I thought I just had some time today. I'll put something on to print. And this went on, and I was thinking it would be good to have it in time for the podcast, because I wanted to see if it would fit on a Blood Bowl base.
That guy looked pretty big. That guy looks pretty big.
Yeah, but snipping the weapons, that's on a 40mm.
Oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, that fits on a pitch.
Oh, that definitely fits on a pitch.
So that's a pretty good option for Chaos teams, and that is from Lost Kingdom Miniatures as well. So,
right, I need to
have access to a printer. That's a pretty good shout for bull centaurs, because they look pretty GWE.
I think I need to not look at this, because
for the sake of your wallet. Ooh. You said you wanted to get married at some point this year. You need to save the pennies.
Oh man, yeah. I have Well, right. We were talking about this before the show. Oh, these are really cool. That is cool. I'm going to ignore that. We were talking about printing and stuff just before, because I was saying that Craig is, all of our local guys, has got me to print out a big ghost thing. And one of the pieces is like 18 hours. And Ben was like, you need to make sure that's going to fit. I was like, yeah. So I tried desperately to find something to print for me overnight tonight, just because I've got space in the schedule. And it's just so easy to find stuff. It's picking stuff that you just... because you can just come back to it. You can just print it. So you got me to sign up. Yeah. Was it literally on the podcast last time? To Anvil. I'm not going to sign up to these guys, but they do.
Archvillain, wasn't it?
Oh, that was it. Yeah, I was already part of Anvil. Archvillain.
That was another one.
Yeah. Have you got the? Have you seen? Did you get all their stuff they released last month?
Well, the Archvillain one.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got it yet. I think it's still valid because it's still January.
Yeah, but, I downloaded it today. It's like 3 gig.
Yeah, it's big, isn't it?
But there's some really cool Slanesh demons and some Tzeentch demons on there. So I've prepped up. They've got like this Keeper of Secrets. So, but it looks like old school. It's got the claws and everything. It just looks amazing. And I've
the snake one?
No. It's just the regular demon guy. 4 arms, 2 claw arms, a kind of ram head.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
really, really cool. And I was like, oh yeah, because at some point, like Ben said, there's going to be a Slanesh team that'll be worth printing for the Blood Bowl pitch. But I ended up going with some Punga stuff instead. Printed off a Rat Ogre, and went to Duncan's Shadow Luca and printed out a couple of chain guns, because I just love Skaven. So yeah, it's nice to get the printer going on. But the thing we were talking about is how I've declared that I've saved money this month, but with the printer. Because I was just like, I technically had last week off. It went terribly wrong. I ended up working for 2.5 days of it because the world is just in a difficult spot at the moment. And yeah, I was like sitting at home. I was looking through the Entoyment website. This is not a plug. I legitimately was, mostly because I was like, I could swing by there on my way home and do click and collect, and that'll be fine. And I could get some Mantic boats, because Mantic have got a naval game, and I was like, they're pretty cool. Like, I could pick up one of those or a little starter fleet of those, and then got a nice little project. And I started thinking, and I was like, right, I think this is going to have to be a sleep test thing. You know, it's kind of on my way home from where I'm going tomorrow at work. So, you know, then I was like, actually, Ben, just print it. I was like, oh yeah, what am I going to do? I'm not going to play this game. The models look cool, but really, what I'm in the mood for fantasy boats for some random reason, because it was like 12:15 at night, and you're just kind of like, yeah, you know what? I do really want to play with cannons. And then, yeah, so I printed some boats. And they're sitting over there, unprimed and unpainted, and in a pile, which is, I imagine, exactly what the Mantic ones would have done. But that would have cost me like £35 plus petrol. So there you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good for a consumer, at least. And it's good for the original artist, because I guess the money is kind of, you just send it directly to people who make the model, and there's no in between. It's not going anywhere else. So yeah, it is.
I'll still find a way to buy things from Entoyment this month.
Absolutely, yeah. Every day I'm browsing board games. Now.
Yeah. Oh, there's some good board games. So, other than printing the Chaos Dwarf for... is that the dwarf army you painted over like 24 hours with your Warhammer
It's the
friends?
one I tried and started, and I really don't like any of it, so it's all getting stripped.
With the cool flame dudes?
Yeah, I might keep them, but I think I broke a couple when I put them in storage. So
oh yeah, I know that
probably
feeling.
redo them.
Yeah, storage is just where miniatures go to die.
It is, yeah. It's where all the spears snap.
Yeah, you never get them back. You end up just buying more. It's just much easier. So, you got the Chaos Dwarf on the go. Is that going to lead to a Chaos Dwarf Blood Bowl team?
I'd like one. Yeah, I'm still, like, again, I've got a lot of projects to do, and I'm trying not to spend money at the moment.
That is very responsible.
Trying. Like, it's been, I think, 3 days. It's going well. And yeah, like, maybe one day. I want to see what comes out. Like, Games Workshop might release one. I know we've discussed the concept of a new Chaos Dwarf team, even if it's different in theme. But it's kind of just something that I can go to if I want to, and I think that's what you were saying, where stuff would normally cost money. It's nice to have something which you can kind of just be like, oh, I'll just print and paint that today.
Yeah, when it's a fancy, like when it's just something that's just going to go on the pile, and you know, you've just got that consumer thing. Like I want something like this to paint and play, and yeah, you get access to it with the printer. It's really, really, really cool. I mean, the Patreons out there are just fantastic. Like,
yeah,
the
absolutely, it's so good value. Oh. It's worth just following them, because you can follow them on Patreon. It won't cost you anything, just to see what comes up. And then if something comes up and you're just like, actually, that's really nice, you can just follow. You can just get the month, and then it'll be like a tenner, and then just get all the files, download it, and then leave if you want. I really like it as a model. I know it's a little bit weird as a model. I think a lot of companies are trying to move away from it. It's especially a nightmare when you need to store them. Like you said, this one was 3 gigabytes. That becomes a real pain.
Yeah.
Some companies use My Mini Factory, which is really good, because that creates like a library for you.
I've got a couple of those, but actually.
Oh, carry on.
I've got a couple of I've backed a couple of things where they've gone to My Mini Factory to distribute. Which means you just kind of have to pick. But yeah, man, the anxiety of the Patreon is real. It's like, oh gosh, if I don't download these, they're gone, and then I have to be a nuisance and do stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward. I went as far as over Christmas, I got a Raspberry Pi, and like specifically, it was something I asked for, and I'm gonna try and make a little home storage network thing. So I've got a big hard drive, so I'm gonna try and rig that all up and have a little home cloud network to store all the files on, and then just be able to take them off and put on the printer. So that's the goal. Like, that will never happen, obviously, because I'm really lazy. But yeah,
I don't know, man. That's that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because I'm fed up storing everything and taking up my computer space. It's like 200 gigabytes of the stuff now. It's mental.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah,
I'll be there soon.
I think I'm on the way there.
I think you probably actually have more than me from seeing how much you've printed.
And yeah, been on printer heat, which is pretty sweet. However, and I was a bit worried about this, and I have said this just now, like, I saved myself money, but that's only because it would have been money that I would have wasted for a project that I really would have never really done anything with. Like,
yeah, that's the thing.
And I cannot stress this enough. I've got a printer. You warned me, Ben, but we were talking about it in our group chat earlier about miniatures and printing, and I think we should talk about that in a sec. But God, I would just buy stuff instead of print it most of the time, like just hands down. Like
there are definitely things. Yeah,
it's just like the Games Workshop teams, the value.
100%.
Yeah, and we see third-party teams that land about £60, or like £50 to £60. I think I would rather pay £50 for a team than try and print one over the space of 7 days worth of printing and cleaning and doing it. I'm like, ooh, I that's kind of we've spoken about £80 for the Kickstarters and stuff, and that's on the large end. But I think stuff that's £60 or less, like the Fanath Dwarfs team that was 50 something pounds with postage. Like if I got the option to have the STLs or to just buy the team, and I needed one team, okay, this is the thing. Like the cool thing when you get the STLs, you can just print a whole bunch of stuff and you can just have more and more. But it just adds to the pile. I think I'd rather just buy a team for £50.
I actually agree. Yeah, and it's something which I don't think. Like, I know 3D printing is a topic which some people really hate. It's like because for a multitude of reasons, some people it's definitely a contentious topic. It's got sort of internal politics all surrounding it, as well as like it's potentially infringing on IP. It's things like that, which we can talk about. But I think it's just something that it's really growing. It's getting there, but it's not quite there yet. Quite there yet.
Yeah, but it's remarkably close, isn't it?
Yes, incredibly so. And for stuff like D&D, if you're into D&D and you're like a DM and you want to use miniatures, it's like the best thing you can ever get. It's like the best thing you can get.
I think there is a market. Now, Ben, you've probably already been there and you've already seen it, and you're probably about to say, yeah, it's this game. But, you've got that little warband of like samurai dudes, and there's just so many cool like little groups of miniatures you could put together as a team. I just feel like if there was one kind of uniting skirmish game that was just bring a bunch of miniatures you like and find an easy way to kind of point them up and to have them work together or whatever, I just think it would just be phenomenal for printing.
I think you're absolutely right. Like even one-page rules, I know I've mentioned that in the group a few times.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. If you want like games like that's like based on Warhammer, but it's loose and it's a simple game. It's an actual full-on war game. You could entirely print if you wanted to. I think definitely piggybacking off of that. I think it actually really opens up design space for companies and groups and even individuals to make rules, because now you can design a miniatures game knowing that people who have access to a printer, which are every week coming down in price. Oh, maybe that's exaggerating. Probably every couple of months, coming down in price and only going to get cheaper. You can design a game that people can just use whatever they want, because there is so much out there now. You can pretty much get anything.
And that's why that was the angle we took with Engage when we did Engage, because. It was basically we had a classic tagline. It was Red Wyvern Games, another way to play, because you've already got the miniatures, right? You've already got, if you want to play a spaceship war game, you've already got spaceships, because spaceships are cool. Whether it's you're a Star Trek guy, you're a Battlefleet Gothic guy, but it's the same can be said of like some kind of sci-fi, some kind of sci-fi rules, because you've got anything. And the thing could also kind of be said for Blood Bowl rules. For Blood Bowl fantasy miniatures, there is Blood Bowl. There's been a couple of other alternative games that have kind of tried to fit in, but even if it's just a way of having some kind of RPG style build a characterful team of Blood Bowl, and you do it like that because you can print off a couple of big guys, a couple of positionals, and you can just turn up with your skirmish team for Blood Bowl. Now sevens fits in this brilliantly, but I don't know whether it's anything. Just it would just be sweet to have purpose, because the chat we had earlier was in our group chat where we do regular game. I know this is kind of off topic from Blood Bowl, but it's wargaming. About how do you feel about somebody turning up with an entirely printed army of stuff? Now, my background is Warhammer and then other stuff. So spaceship gaming, in a fleet,
That'd be any option.
well, yeah, you've got printed miniatures, you've got Ground Zero games, you've got Brigade, you've got all sorts of stuff. It doesn't matter. That's just what you've chosen, and then the rules work around it, and it's brilliant. And it's just really interesting to hear the way some people feel about having, like, well, because you were talking about doing some kind of, like, was it Imperial Guard?
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, the big ghost that Craig's got, we need to print him. There's a bunch of stuff that are basically chain rasps and things for AOS. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, oh, that'd be sweet. Because I think the advantage of printing things is you can print one cool thing randomly whenever you want for free. It's never for free. There's a ton of effort, and there's at least, it's at least £5 for a good STL on the way up to $15 is kind of what I've seen. And then there's the effort and the resin and the electricity and everything. So nothing free. It's just the ease of it. But you can go from that, and then it's like you can print a billion of stuff. Once you've figured out how to print a thing, you can just take it off, press print, clean it up.
Keep going.
But yeah, that's the advantage, and that, from a Blood Bowl point of view, awesome for linemen. But,
yeah.
But I think that's the two things for printers. You can print one sweet thing, or you can get something you want to print a ton of, which is great for tournament support, which you helped us with Mega Bowl. But when it comes to the one-off, I'm well up for just buying and paying somebody else to print a thing for me, because it's £10 to have a miniature. Yeah.
I needed a horde of zombies. I got 5 really good zombies, and that makes I think 40 even, like, really nice zombies. To get 40 really good zombie models is expensive.
£30 plus IRL, and that's with Mantic zombies.
This was like either. And I've got like 40 zombies.
Yeah.
Plus, I guess the printing stuff, which definitely is to be factored in. But so even when you have a plate full of stuff, you just run it several times, again and again. Not too bad.
So when you've got an army, or let's focus this on a Blood Bowl point of view. I generally think in Blood Bowl, if you can tell what the positionals are, it doesn't really matter what the models are, as long as they're kind of... It just doesn't matter what they are. And then I think, was it you that brought up the Lego comment then? Or was it Ian?
Yeah, so I've seen that argument before. It's like, well, then what if someone turns up with Lego? Like, is that okay?
But if that's what they want to run it with, it is a board game. But I don't know if that's the difference between Blood Bowl, which you could just play with counters, because you literally could.
Yeah, I don't think it's hard and fast, really. I think is that a phrase? Is that even a phrase? I don't think it's set in stone. There you go. I'll use a different phrase that just came to mind. I think it's a social contract. You have to make sure you're not making the other person in any way not wanting to play. Like, if someone turns up with Lego, I like Blood Bowl for the theme and stuff like that. In my opinion, that's kind of detracting away from my experience, and I would hope the other person can understand that. In the same way, if I turned up with, I mean, you could even argue unpainted miniatures is a thing.
Well, maybe I was going to go straight into that. I would rather play with somebody's Lego thing that's themed out, and they've got 4 Batmans and they're their blitzers, and then just primed human team number 75. But it's a board game. But I think we were kind of talking more along the lines of miniatures games, weren't we? Because the aesthetic is so much. When you don't have a grid, you don't have a board, the aesthetic is the game.
Yeah, like you can use Warhammer 40k for an example, Age of Sigmar. That is big on the aesthetic. It is not really the same game with tokens. No,
you're massively right.
Technically could play it, but I'd argue you're not even playing it at that point, because I think such a big part of it is the visual experience.
I think the danger is with a game like 40k and AOS is I think the rules are so like important that the skin is really important to just distract you away from the obvious engine underneath. I really do think that the only difference then, if you're not using miniatures, is that this model has a DPS of this, and it's tricky.
Yeah.
Whereas in Blood Bowl, there is kind of like a unified, like everybody is this, but some people are just slightly better than others. And then there is a cool theme, but actually, if you want to use ninjas to represent your wood elves, I'm like, yeah, all right. And if you want to use your Slan team to represent pro elves, and you're like, yeah, they're Slan, they're dodgy, they don't have leap, these guys are just agile, I'm like, sweet. Which ones are the ones I need to kill? You know, it's.
I mean, we play Fumble, and you can barely tell the position of the part in that sometimes. So.
That is harsh but fair. Yeah, the good thing is you can kind of hover over them. But yeah, it's interesting.
Sorry, that opinion is purely based on the Nurgling team. That team is impossible to play.
Oh my god,
because
that was
there are
carnage.
like 5 Nurgling types that all look the same.
Well, Morpheus, who now does the Squad Chaos podcast, he just plays with the you can turn the graphics off and you have like little circles with initials.
Oh, okay, that works.
Try and make it easier.
Well, that's like playing with tokens, like you said.
It is playing with tokens, except there was this one team who was playing, I think it was in Bonehead Bowl, and they had like it was playing against the clan Pestilence team, and there's like 3 positionals that all have like PR. It was carnage. And the really funny thing is with the sprites, it wasn't much better. I do like that team. That was a cool team. I hope we see these secret teams come back in Blood Bowl 2020.
Yeah, we can hope.
Anyway, I've massively derailed this. I'm sorry, guys. So,
what are we talking about?
Hobby. What have you been painting? What are you working on?
Oh, yeah. I printed an ogre. So the thing with 3D printing is like... no, we're going to go back into that. Yeah, no. I did a butcher. I did an ogre butcher for my ogre army. So that's one model closer to being finished as well.
Oh, that's sweet. Some awesome spatter effects on that as well.
Yeah, I without it, the model is... Yeah, it adds a lot to the model, I think. I had to do quite a lot. The base model was quite basic. I had to sort of stick arrows into him to make him look a bit different. And I think the blood spatter adds a lot of texture, which I think they would be quite flat without it. But yeah, I think it worked.
The whole army looks awesome. Ben has this problem where he goes to town on basing and uses so many elements. I remember when you were painting your Were team for Tombstone, and you were just like so stressed because your bases were so elaborate.
That one was actually quite a lot. That had like cobwebs on, didn't it?
Oh yeah, the cobwebs. Oh, I forgot about the cobwebs.
To be fair, it's something I actually want to increase. I want to do more for basing. I don't feel like I do enough in some aspects. For some things, I think the ogres are enough, but like
I think the ogres are more than enough.
That's pretty basic.
I think it's fine. Yeah, but you've got like 75 of the same type of model.
True, yeah, you can't really afford to go.
The basing on the vehicles looks sweet though. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I think for generic infantrymen, probably not worth doing too complicated a base, because those guys are only on the table for about 45 minutes, and that's only because one turn is 45 minutes in 40k. So yeah. They just get deployed to be removed.
Regarding basing though, it's like, so the ogre bases, all it is really is just height and then texture and then tufts. It's not.
Aren't you using like 3 different types of tufts as well?
Yeah, if you mix them up, I think that adds a lot.
Yeah, I love fancy basing. Cork is the answer.
Yeah, exactly. Cork. Just add height with cork and cover it all up with, gunk. And stick grass in it.
Actually true. Every time I go to IKEA, I always pick up a 3-pack of like the pot things with corks on. Just like, you've picked up cork again, haven't you? But I'm like, I need it. She's like, why do you need it? And I was like, I'll give it to Ian so that he can make things pretty. Because Ian just goes to town on his bases as well. He adds some serious height to his, like his Uruk dragon thing was just on.
Yeah, he does. So nice.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So that's what you've been working on. I have actually been painting some of my Blood Bowl teams. I have based and primed and started base coating both the Nobility team and my Black Orc team. I'm going with a kind of red and bronze for the Black Orcs, because Tiff suggested I didn't like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was before I realised the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to be playing against Green Bay in the NFC Conference Championship games. That's a conflict of interest. But no, got them on the go. Actually finally painted my Ogre Troll dude with bright red hair as well. This is very, very basic, but printed that miniature. Really like it. It's got character. Been trying to do orc skin and make it look like actual skin, and are trying to use like a blend of dark green and a contrast flesh shade. And it still looks flat. So I've got some work to do on that. But I've been painting those guys and printing stuff that I have yet to paint. I think that's kind of something I need to slow down on. Although I took the kind of week off for printing, except now because I'm about to print some stuff for somebody else. I was like, well, I want to print things.
Yeah.
It's my
That'll
printer.
do it.
Yeah, I know. So now all the times you printed stuff for me, Ben, I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Because it is work. Like, it's awesome. So yeah, got at least one secret project I'm painting, and then there's another project that I started printing but it didn't work, which was a pain in the pain in the resin tray, should we say. That's because I am bad at doing the supports. I am just terrible at doing the supports, and I'm just too impatient. I don't have time.
Not fun.
I don't have time to do it. This is it. Like,
yeah.
I don't have time to sit there. I want to spend 45 minutes. It takes me 45 minutes to choose miniatures to print. Then I don't want to spend another 20 minutes per miniature moving the stupid supports that have decided to populate between their teeth and stuff. I'm like, why have you done this? I know you're supposed to start from the ground up, but I'm just far too impatient for that. But anyway, bunch of these models failed. It's very sad. And yeah, it's okay. I had to clean the machine and everything, but that's fine. Hopefully it'll print this. I put a big print on overnight with the rat ogre and the dude, so hopefully that prints out okay. Because
wake up to the vat of disappointment.
Yeah. Isn't that the way? That's still pretty cool. It's still pretty cool. So that's me for hobby, really, Ben. Anything else for you?
No, I think that's it. Good chat.
Yeah, man. All right, let's
it's a
move
good topic.
on. It is a good topic. We had a massive chat in the group chat about the whole printing element, but it wasn't really about printing. It was about third-party miniatures. So I'm sitting there with my Blood Bowl hat on, going, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I have every Games Workshop team, and then I just get the Games Workshop team, and then I look for my real team afterwards. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I've got 3 dwarf teams. And I don't envisage myself really ever playing dwarves again, ever. But I've got the second edition team, I've got the current edition team, and I've got the Fanath team, which is amazing. I love the Fanath team. So I love the Fanath team a lot, actually. Yes, right. Blood Bowl 7s. We'll be right back. Okay, so we've put this off for far too long. We've known about Blood Bowl 2020 for ages. We absolutely love 7s. We try and run at least one 7s tournament every year. We have a YouTube show dedicated to 7s. We love 7s. It's probably, in my opinion, the best way to play Blood Bowl. But with the edition change, the NAF rules that kind of unify 7s were left out of date. They are left a bit out of date. They need to be updated to the current edition. So we kind of waited. We kind of put it off because actually we're like, we'll focus on 11s. We'll focus on the core game for a bit. Then we can start exploring all the craziness that we love. 7s, mixed teams, Dungeon Bowl, all the cool stuff that we really love delving into. So we waited. And the NAF isn't quite there yet. So we just went ahead and modified the NAF's sheet. So what we did was we literally just took the NAF sheet from last year. So the NAF, who are the kind of unofficial governing body of Blood Bowl. They do a great job ranking games and just providing advice to keep it from being utterly ridiculous. They do a good job. They do a good job of that. So I took their sheet. There was 2-page rulebook from last time just saying here's what 7s is. These are the rules around it. And updated a few bits to make it in line with Blood Bowl 2020. So for those of you that don't know what 7s is, it is a quick play variant. I mean, how long do the games take, Ben?
An hour.
Yeah, an hour tops.
Hour and a half. Yeah.
Hour, I think it's less than that.
Not even an hour and a half. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'd say an hour max.
Yeah, I think you can get a cheeky game of sevens in real quick if you're familiar with it. So it's a format that's played on a smaller pitch. It's 20 squares by 11 wide, where a normal Blood Bowl pitch is 26 squares and 15 squares wide. You don't deploy in the centre. You've each got like a third of the pitch you deploy in. You've got a line of scrimmage, but you don't start in combat. So there's no free blocks basically at the start of the game, which means that agile teams and things like that aren't massively penalised immediately. On top of that, there's two big changes. One is the reason it's called sevens is because you only have 7 guys on the pitch at any one time. And the second bit is that rerolls are double the price. So it ends up being a lot quicker because you got a lot less players, the pitch is smaller, and you're not re-rolling stuff quite so much. So if you want to see what Blood Bowl Sevens was like in the old format, please just have a look at Seven Super Series, which we've done 2 seasons of, because the Sevens as a game hasn't really changed, but the rules are the old rules rather than new rules. But put together this document. So, I don't know, Ben. What do you think? Is there much point in going through actually more stuff about sevens? Or do you think?
Let's skip the segment on to the end.
No, I mean, like talking about what sevens is, the rules and things like that.
Probably not. That should be. It's probably best. I think most people are familiar with sevens. Should we do a brief overview? I mean, you've kind of already covered that, really.
Yeah, I think that's the most of it. You get 600k to make your team. You can't have any star players. You can't have any infamous coaching. You can't have extra training as an inducement. You can have basically everything else, and your teams can be from anything. You know, well, I've adjusted this bit for the 27 official Games Workshop teams and the 2 additional NAF recommended teams, Slan and Demons of Khorne's, because we're up to 29 teams now, which is absolutely sweet. 27, unless, you know, but I recommend the NAF teams. I think they're pretty fun. No one else plays like those 2 teams. They're pretty sweet. In sevens, a team may not have fewer than 7 or more than 11 players, and you only play 7 on the pitch. Oh, goodness. The most key thing is you get 0 to 4 specialist players. So you don't just pick your team. You can only have 4 positionals. Everybody else has got to be a line person. So one of your 0 to 12s. So this is one of the things I didn't tweak, but I do think needs to be addressed. Because there's a bunch of teams that I think this really penalises. The old sevens rules was you have your standard team roster, but it's all the positionals are halved, rounding up. So, you know, for a Skaven team, you could have 1 blitzer and 2 gutter runners. You know, it was good for other teams like Nurgle, because you could still run like 2 Pesticles, 2 Warriors and a Beast. You could still take stuff. But it made it tougher for some of the other teams. It's an interesting one. The NAF changed to only 4 total positionals, and you can have whichever ones you want according to your normal team. So if you want 4 gutter runners, you can take 4 gutter runners, because you can have 4 gutter runners, but you can't have 4 blitzers, for example, with Skaven. I don't know. I like that, Ben, from a list point of view. I mean, what do you think about 0 to 4 specialist versus half limit?
I think I'm not sure. I don't, because I haven't played the half limit variant. I can't really say. I can imagine gutter runners becoming obscene. I actually do like the sort of like one. Sorry. What am I talking about? The other way around. So like, I haven't played the half limit. Gutter runners can be obscene.
Gutter runners are
I don't know
always
where I'm going with this. What am I talking about?
Well,
what am I talking about?
It's the 0 to 4 total versus just half. Now, I think the big thing that's changed is that Renegades, Underworld, Old World Alliance now exist. These guys have got more positionals than they used to. Each of their teams is mostly made up of positionals. So OWA only being able to take 4 positionals means they're basically
they'd struggle. Yeah.
Kind of the fun bits of Underworld now is you get, you know, some Skaven and then the Snotlings as well. It's a tricky one. But then again, if you put in half positionals rounding up, OWA could just absolutely load up with all the different positionals.
It would definitely give them the flavour they would kind of like, they would keep their flavour which they have. Yeah.
It's really interesting. That's the one thing for me that doesn't quite sit right. But I don't know what the I don't
Yeah,
know what
like I think I remember taking the Amazon Sevens team with just four blitzers, and it was just really
it's
gross.
four blitzers is all you take in the full 11s team anyway. So
Yeah, that's
just
true. Yeah, it's
four
just, we're
blitzers
just
at
playing
the moment.
11's team again.
Yeah, basically all the good bits. But no, that's the only thing that actually is worth looking at. I did actually do a poll in the Facebook group for Sevens a while ago saying actually which do you prefer for the new edition, 0 to 4 positionals total or half positionals, and it was overwhelmingly in the way of 0 to 4. It's just that
Interesting.
yeah, I know. I was quite surprised by that. We've got nearly 500 people in there now. I think only like 100 responded or something, but it was quite a majority was towards actually stick to how it is now. But there are some teams that lose out on that. But I think in any format, there are some teams that win and some teams that lose from a list building point of view.
It's hard to do a fits all.
It is
a fits all approach, isn't it? It's really hard.
It's just about what you know. Sevens has got 2 goals. It's to be fast and simple, but feel like Blood Bowl. Having 0 to 4 leans way harder to the fast and simple rather than it feels like the Blood Bowl team. But for the majority of the teams, we must be talking like 24 of the teams, it's absolutely fine. Like it's just Snotlings, OWA, Pact, and Underworld that kind of get hindered. Everyone else, you basically get to feel like your team. Anyway, that rerolls are doubled, and the NAF rules said, did we mention 7 players are poorly trained? It's very highly recommended that tournaments severely limit skills and ban leader. I love leader in 7s. I think it's a legit choice. And I think 1 reroll is fine, especially with the new Blood Bowl 2020 rules where you can stack rerolls in a turn. But I don't think it's important. The whole idea of 7s is that it's quick, it's fast. You learn how to play without rerolls, which is incredibly good training for the real game. And it's just a way to get a game of Blood Bowl in within about 45 minutes. Because we used to film 2 games in about 3 hours.
Right. Yeah, and the tournament, you could do 5 games in a day. We did a tournament in an evening with 3 games.
We did do a tournament. We did a couple actually. We hosted some down at in Southampton as well. A couple of 7s nights with 3 rounds of 7s in a 3-hour window. That was sweet. That was really good. So that's why I love 7s. You get more games in. So those games of Blood Bowl where you get stacked in the first quarter and then you have to grind it out for the next 12 turns, doesn't matter. You lose a game of 7s, you've lost it in 35 minutes, which means you've got time to go grab a cup of tea and then rack up again. It feels that
good. Really good.
Quick play element for me. Anyway, just wanted to give a quick brief on 7s. So that's all the difference. That and there's a different pitch and the kickoff is slightly different. You roll 2d6 and take the lowest to make sure it stays on the smaller pitch. Changes in Blood Bowl 2020. So, should we talk about the kickoff table, Ben?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, Blood Bowl 2020 changed the kickoff table. The kickoff table that was in the NAF document was the old kickoff table with a couple of adjusted zones. So, Blitz was changed, Perfect Defense was changed, and was it high kick was changed as well? I think. I've got the rules.
Yeah, high kick
right
was still in there, wasn't
it? It was defensive shift, so 4, 5, and 10 changed. I think high kick was 5. Perfect defense.
Oh,
was
of course, because you
4.
can't cross over and pick it up in the
Yeah. So those were the kind of the 3 that were changed. So what I've done is I've just taken the Blood Bowl 2020 kickoff table and changed Blitz with Charge, which is the kicking team's coach chooses a number between 0 and 3. All players on the kicking team move directly forward this number of squares. This is a free move, ignores player movement, and does not require activation or rush attempts instead of Blitz. What do you think about that, Ben? What do you think about Charge versus Blitz?
I love it. So much love it. I think the thing that's mainly, I should say I should love it because I hate Blitz. But I think it's a bit weird that you choose 1, 2, or 3 because I don't think I've ever seen anyone not choose 3 or none.
It's either 3 or 0, isn't it?
It's either 3 or 0. Yeah, the 1 or 2 is kind of a bit redundant. It could just say up to. It feels a bit weird to say like 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
You know, it's just maybe it's to stop you doing weird formations, but
so I'm with you. Blitz can be absolutely devastating, but I have seen some feedback that says I think it may have been George, it may have been somebody else, I'm not sure, who said actually what we do is we use the rule book, but where it says D3+3, we use D3+1 instead. So for blitz, it's you get to blitz action. You get to make a blitz turn using D3+1 of your team, which normally ends up at like 2 or 3 guys. He said, which is pretty cool. And sometimes if you've got a midfield kick, you can swoop in and catch the ball, but you leave 2 players then out in the open, or you leave 4 players out in the open. And in sevens, there's no line of scrimmage, so the receiving team does not get free blocks. They normally get the first opportunity at a blitz, but at 6 squares away. Whereas if you've got charge, or if you use blitz, you've got some guys who are within first striking range. And it's really like, I love the dynamicness of that. I don't know. I think that the blitz.
No, I like that.
Using blitz, using D3+1 instead of D3+3, it keeps the kicking table closer to Blood Bowl 2020 rulebook, and I think does make it quite an interesting option. Now, yeah, if you run in there with a gutter runner and 3 linemen, you're going to get the ball, but you are massively within immediate swamping and blitzing range. So I think that's something.
It's like I think it's definitely more interesting than charge, for sure, and more beneficial to every team. Whereas charge is like, if you're a bash team, you go. If you're not, you don't.
Yeah. Or if the ball is landing short, you use charge, and then everybody's in the way for the ball.
Yeah.
I did like that. I thought that was a really cool shout, and I do like that. Otherwise, the rest of the kickoff table is the same. 4 is now defensive shift. All players on the kicking team are allowed to move 1 square. So this is, I think, instead of perfect defense, or although it's not called perfect defense in Blood Bowl 2020, it's called good defense, or above average defense, or something. I can't remember what it's actually. It's called like decent defense, where you get to redeploy D3+3 players instead of the entire team, which is okay. This way you just get to move everybody 1 square, which I think it's actually quicker. I like that.
I prefer that as well. I find often I was going to say often a perfect defense can really slow the game down, but you kind of said that it's quicker. It's better suited for sevens for sure.
Oh, here we go. It was actually Tom Killingbeck who said about D3+1 instead, and you can pretty much use the kickoff table. And yeah, it was good thread on the sevens community actually talking about it. The other one is offensive motion, which was instead of high kick, which is the receiving team's coach may reorganize his players. Which, actually thinking about it, that should probably be redone as their players. In line with the rest of the rules. But yeah, I mean, offensive motion, I don't feel like it ever really did stuff in sevens. But like you said, Ben, you can't really have high kick. So it's probably the best. And you know what? Having underwhelming rolls on the kickoff table is perfectly fine. Because we've all been there, like Ben said, where they
don't all have to change the game.
Yeah, we've all been perfect defensed, and we've all been blitzed.
Old school blitz,
the old school blitz, which is why I'm running Slan in our local league, because woohoo, 2+ leap on the blitz, get the ball.
I love a blitz.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love leaping in the old school rules. Right, so those are the only changes to the kickoff table. I like the idea of actually sticking as close to the original kickoff table as possible, but perfect defense doesn't really do a lot. Offensive motion, high kick literally does nothing, unless you said, I don't know, what do you think about this, Ben? Unless you said high kick, if you can just choose 1 player on your team to redeploy in your backfield, so you can't
cross the line.
You can move them close to the ball, or if the ball is landing in your backfield, you can move them underneath the ball.
Yeah, no, I think that works.
That actually sticks quite close to the rule book as well. All right,
just select 1 player to redeploy anywhere.
Yeah.
Or anywhere within your deployment zone.
Which would be quicker and would kind of tie in with it nicely. Anyway, as for the kickoff table element of that, given what we talked about, do you think there's anything else that needs tweaking there?
I don't think so. I think it works. It's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think we addressed the things which might be broke, so I think wouldn't change anything other than that.
So, the next thing to talk about, though, is the prayers to Nuffle table. So, that's now here on a result of a 6. is you roll on the Prayers to Nuffle table. Now, I've put in their exhibition version because obviously there's two versions of the Prayers to Nuffle table. We did a whole blooming show. We joined by Ian Triplo, and we talked about it. I put to use the exhibition prayer version rather than the one with the SPP stuff, although we liked some of those. They were significantly not balanced, Ben. Did you think that was about right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, some are great, some are so not great.
Yeah, I think it was at page 103 for the Prayers to Nuffle table. There we go. Treacherous Trapdoor. So if we use trapdoors in sevens, we'd have to allocate a trapdoor square. Until the end of this half, every time a player enters the trapdoor and a 1, it falls open and they're removed as if they've been pushed into the crowd. Friends with the ref. I don't know. The Prayers to Nuffle table doesn't add a huge amount, I don't think. But if it's in the main rulebook, I mean, I guess the question for you, Ben, is when it comes to sevens, do you think moving away from the rules for the sake of simplicity is better or worse for most players than sticking as close to the core rules as possible?
Can you repeat that again? Didn't come through.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Can you repeat the question? Yeah. When it comes to sevens, do you think it's more beneficial to make it different but simple, or to keep it as close to core Blood Bowl 2020 as possible?
I don't think it has to stay close to core 2020. I think it can be its own thing. I think it definitely helps. I think the reason you're playing sevens is for the sort of simplicity of it. So I think if you want to keep it close to core 2020, you could play core 2020. I don't think it has to be core 2020 with less players. I'm more in favour of simplifying it, making it the speedy, rapid game.
Because in that way, then using a lot of the old kickoff table would probably be the best way around. Having weather on a 7 and cheering fans, or brilliant coaching on 6 and 8 to get that reroll advantage instead of the Prayers to Nuffle table. Because, like I said, I don't know if the Prayers to Nuffle table is going to add a lot. One of you gets stab, one of you gets loner, but +1 armor and stuff. It's characterful.
Yeah, it's a shame. But I'd like to sort of go the other way and move Prayers to Nuffle into Blood Bowl 2020 to happen more. Like, it'd be good to put it in there more often and keep sevens the simple one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why not change 6 7 on seven on a weather table, whatever it is, the kickoff.
Prayers to Nuffle on a 7.
Prayers to Nuffle instead for 2020.
Yeah, interesting. It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, it's nice to know that actually one part sevens that you are kind of stuck with is the kickoff table. So we've done tournaments with sevens, and I think every time we've done a tournament with sevens, people have gone, kickoff table, what's this one?
Yeah.
What's this one? That's why in my mind I was like, actually, it's close to Blood Bowl 2020 as possible would probably be better. Then we go and add fancy things to most kickoff tables. So, I don't know. Like, it's kind of, I'm kind of contradicting myself.
Especially for tournament play. For tournament play. Yeah. You want to keep things simple and straightforward and avoid questions.
So we talked about the format. We talked about the kickoff table. Let's just hypothesize now. Okay, Ben? In Blood Bowl 2027s, what teams do you think are going to benefit from the changes in BB 2020 when it comes to sevens? Who's going to profit?
The really core one, I guess, is passing, right? We saw passing happen probably more in sevens, would you say? There was always kind of like, because it's the smaller pitch, a lot of your passes are quick. And that happened actually quite often, I remember.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. And the cool thing is that even though the passing changes have happened, quick passes are probably the only one that's all right now. So in that regard, it's going to be okay. But sorry, carry on.
So I think in a way those teams will benefit more, and I feel like those teams are already kind of doing well in sevens, so maybe they might win more. That's that's hypothesizing out of nowhere, which is what we do best. And
absolutely,
so that is just my gut feeling from what we've played of sevens. Is agile teams I feel have an advantage.
I think you're right. I mean, Nurgle, bless them, have got significantly worse. But when it comes to sevens, I think the Pro Elves and Skaven are big winners.
I mean, humans now they're throwing us better.
Oh my
I think
goodness,
are still going to do
humans
very well,
as
and they're
well.
very fast.
Yeah. Definitely humans. That cheeky passing 2+, and the rest of the team just stayed good.
With a movement 8 catcher who just sprints in the end and catches it.
Yeah. That's the cool thing about the positional limit, is if you want a catcher and you want a thrower, you can only take 2 blitzers, which does kind of balance you out. It means you can't take an ogre then and a halfling. It's kind of...
I think a 2 humor catcher thrower human team. 2 blitzer catcher thrower human team is a really solid one for sevens.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a shame you can't get the halfling in there. Oh, Ben, what if you just remove the positional limit for stunties?
Well, they're just free.
No, but just say stunties don't count towards the 0-4 positionals.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to say why not, because that sounds more fun.
That would fix goblins who struggle in sevens, because you want to take the trolls, but if you take a troll, you can't take the special weapons.
Yeah.
It would
Notlings
mean
are fixed.
It would mean humans could take halflings, orcs could take goblins, so they could have 4 black orc and 3 goblin build.
Pact can take the goblin.
Pact can take the goblin for free. OWA can take a halfling.
Yeah.
Underworld gets the nothing, so that's fine.
They get snotlings.
Oh, they get snotlings, because snotlings are a stunty.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. We may have solved sevens here. It would be
Stunties don't count.
Stunties don't count towards the positional limit. 0-4 specialist players, which is 0-12 people, or don't have stunty, or have stunty. Because that would be interesting, because then a human team could take a halfling. Like they could go ogre, blitzer, thrower, catcher, halfling, lineman. And then you kind of get more of the character. Guys, let us know what you think about that one, because I think that's quite exciting. Because I want to do the Blood Bowl 7's lists videos, but until we know what kind of the format is, I want to go ahead. Although I think what we're going to have is, I think sevens is going to be decentralized for a little while. So I kind of want to create a hub. So at the moment, it's our Facebook page, because actually I think there's going to be several different formats, and I don't think
it'd be good to get
great.
Yeah, it'd be good to get one that people agree on.
Yeah,
sure.
Even if it's not the best, even if it is 0-4, but stunties don't get to have fun. That's fine. But that's the tweak I like the idea of. But so winners, cheeky passing 2+ teams. They do good. Losers of sevens who've gone down in the sevens power rankings, essentially, because power rankings are a new thing.
As all of our winners, losers, 2020 stuff. Dark Elves do go down quite a lot, I think, in this.
Ooh.
In my opinion. I know you really like Dark Elves, but I remember Dark Elves and Sevens being really tricksy.
You know what? Milton is like, they're the original tier 4 team for Milton when it comes to sevens. He plays them. He played them in a tournament, and he played them at Touchdown Tuesdays as well, our sevens club, and didn't go on well with them.
So maybe they would get better then if they're coached by Milton.
I don't know. You're right. That passing angle definitely hurts the team. Nurgle, I think, just got worse in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And with the positional restrictions,
if the sevens meta becomes more passing related, maybe Nurgle could be good.
A cheeky bit of disturbing presence. I think
shut it down a bit.
I think they just load up on Pestigores and have a good time. Actually, when it comes to sevens,
yeah, that's true.
Teams
that rely a lot on rerolls struggle.
Yeah, that is true. Stunties do okay. I think that Snotlings have got way better in Blood Bowl 2020 in a pitched fight, because they've got numbers, they've got strength, they've got shenanigans. I think the positional limit hurts them. The Bombardier can't quite do so much stuff. Skills are limited, so they can't have a lot of freebie skills to make their big guys better or to make their little guys better. I think that hurts them. That said, I still think the Stilty or the Fun Hopper will do well in sevens, especially as you've got Swarming, which will be quite good in this edition for sevens.
Yeah, I think Swarming has a bigger impact in sevens for sure.
We saw that at Mega Bowl, because a lot of people, 3 or 4 people took Snotlings as their second team, like the second half of their half team, and in sevens, that cheeky ability to add an extra D3 players was awesome in sevens, because you just
seeing games going on. I was just like, wait, you play? It wasn't in sevens game.
What is this?
Like 15 players.
Why have you got 30 players between you?
Every square is taken up.
That wasn't rules. That was just cheating, and that's awesome to see, and very thematic for a Blood Bowl thing, especially when it comes to Snotling coaches. So Snotlings are taking a bit of a hit. I don't know if orcs with their animosity, they're going to find it a little bit, whether the stretch plays are going to hurt them quite so much because they don't have the amount of positionals to brawl like they used to.
Yeah, maybe.
That's why I think taking that stunty.
Yeah, 'cause orcs really rely on really stacking up, don't they? Like in orcs, you have like 2 linemen usually. Like to have in sevens, you really limit yourself.
Yeah, so it's 4 orc blitzers is probably the optimum build. That's all right.
But then it goes your strength 4.
Yeah, and then if you have to do a stretch play, animosity is going to get in the way. Yeah, it's interesting. So my next question for you, Ben, is what team are you looking forward to most in running in sevens in Blood Bowl 2020?
See, for me, it'll probably be Black Orcs.
Really? That's hilarious because my team is Imperial Nobility.
Wow.
and Ben's running Nobles and I'm going to be running Black Orcs in League. So that's amazing. So why the Black Orcs in sevens? What are you thinking?
I think the positional thing barely changes them. You're still taking max Black Orcs and then you Goblins. And I just think you can really play on their board control even harder because the speed, like you can catch up along the pitch a little bit easier. We mentioned teams can run away. They definitely can in sevens. But because it's narrower, your catching up speed is definitely, even if you're movement 5, it doesn't really matter.
If you've got 4 guys, you can spread them across the pitch. So there is there is small gaps, but Black Orcs are movement, they're strength 4. So you're quite right. If you've got 4 Black Orcs spread across, someone can squeeze by for a turn, but then you've got 2 strength 4 guys bearing down on them.
Yeah, and I think it plays more into grab quite nicely because there's a couple of things like grab I think is really cool for control. Might be cooler in my mind because I haven't played with them yet, but I love the idea really of just using grab to proper control the board.
Grab is really good. Now in sevens, there's a lot more open space. But like you say, grab in sevens is going to mean that you can put the guys exactly the opposite place of where they want to be, whether it's farming them off into a second block or just removing them away from the danger and forcing them to run around, and that's going to cost them half their movement. And,
definitely.
But also strength 4 is pretty sweet.
Strength 4 is huge. The last thing was that because Brawler is like rerolls are so expensive, Brawler is kind of a blocking reroll. I think that's quite valuable to have.
That
for sure. I think Brawler is a really nice skill in sevens.
I think you're right. Won't be so good for the Blitz, obviously, because it doesn't count, but once you've got a guy in place. I like that. See, I'm excited for the Nobility, because I've run sevens, I've run Bretonnians in sevens, and I am aware that Bretonnians and Nobility are not the same team. But 1 thrower, 2 nobles, 2 blitzers, and then it leaves you 1 wildcard spot. So maybe you take a second thrower, maybe you take a bodyguard, because wrestle is a sweet skill in sevens, massively so. And having 2 block catch means you've got your stretch game sorted. I like the thrower. I know the thrower is not good, but I also think that running pass will be incredibly useful in sevens.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't considered that.
Probably more so than 11s by a long shot, because there's a ton of combat in 11s. In 7s, there's not a ton of combat. Actually, 1 guy for 1 guy is a massive, it's a massive boon. If you've got 3 guys loose in an 11s pitch, there's plenty of space, you're probably going to be all right. In 7s, if you've got 3 guys loose, that you're going to die. And being able to just run a couple of squares, take a cheeky 3++ pass to your dude, and then go tag the next person in line, and then blitz immediately with that blitzer and have your support there. Boom. I think they're going to combo really well. Cool. And you've got 1 wildcard spot there for your 4th positional, which I suppose technically should be a bodyguard. Are they agility 3, Ben?
They are, yeah. It's only the linemen that are agility.
Then, no, ogre. There you go.
Oh, well, yeah.
Take the ogre. Take the ogre. Ogre, 2 blitzers, a subpar thrower, and a bunch of chaff linemen. It's going to be a really interesting challenge, and I think they're going to do all right because those movement 7 blitzers are sweet.
And they're your positions limited. Blitzers are the noble blitzers are 2 positionals in 1. You get your catcher and your blitzer. So
exactly.
You're right.
I think nobles are going to be pretty fun. Plus, we didn't get to run them in our last season, so we both picked teams that are new teams, and we want to see them. in that. And, well, we were going to start filming, but then the lockdown happened. Because, Nobles, Black Orcs, Snotlings are all going to be appearing in the next season of 7 Super Series.
Very excited.
Yeah, I cannot wait, man. It's going to be really, really, really cool. Really, really cool. Right, I think the last question for you is, do you think we will see a legitimate Games Workshop expansion for Sevens?
Ooh. I don't think we can rule it out. They definitely mentioned it in the rulebook. In the main rulebook, they mentioned Sevens. They acknowledge its existence, along with Dungeon Bowl. I think that's already a big sign, because they don't tend to talk about stuff they're not planning on doing. So,
while I do think they have done a bit more tongue-in-cheek stuff, I think they do tend to do and mention stuff a little bit more with community and things. But I just think they foreshadow a lot.
They do a lot of foreshadowing, for sure, and they know the hype train is fast, and people all want to board the hype train.
So what we need to see is a Games Workshop Blood Bowl 7's pitch from Potato Cam, please. Okay. Several variants of the official rules appealed. What's that?
Sorry, I was going to say, overall, in the question, will we see a legit expansion? I think overall I'm going to go with no, but I wouldn't indefinitely rule it out.
I would love it. It would be awesome. Sevens pictures, you get a cheap one printed for £10 by going to a printer and cutting it down yourself, or get an expensive one. But we really need to get ours restocked. But we've been waiting to find out what the kickoff table is going to be before we get the restock, because we don't want to have the old kickoff table, and because we did that once already with the old passing template. But yeah, it says they're in the rulebook on page 8. Oh, several variants of the official rules appeared as well, including Blitz Bowl and Sevens, 2 amateur versions of the game. So Blitz Bowl we've got, Sevens we haven't. Oh, all they'd have to do is print Sevens pitches. That's all they have to do. Sevens pitches, put the rules in a White Dwarf. That's £75 for a White Dwarf as well. They've made a load of money. Boom. That's all they have to do is print cardboard Sevens pitches.
It'll be easy, and it'll be great.
Yeah, it's just the way forward.
It'll be great.
I love
it's really
Sevens.
accessible as well. I don't know if we touched on it, but Sevens is a really good way to start and get into the game, because it's simpler, it's quicker, less daunting. It's great.
I just love it.
It really would be good to see the support.
You get to play war games. I can see them. I can see them going for it. I really can. So fingers crossed, because I don't really care how they do it. I think it'd just be sweet to get more games in. Right, Ben. Anything else you want to mention on Sevens before we take a quick break?
I think that's it.
All right.
Play Sevens now.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know. Right, we'll be right back. Okay, so good news. There are tournaments returning to the world. Not in the UK, but that's okay for now. So if you caught this month's monthly meta, I looked at 3 tournaments on there because they're some of the first we've seen for Blood Bowl 2020. 2 of them have now finished, and I thought it would be good to catch up with Ben and just talk through some of the tournaments that have already started and what kind of we expect to see moving forward, and look at see who won those matches, which is actually quite cool to get to see. So the first one we saw was, and I've got the little NAF page up here, which was the Big V, no, it wasn't. It was the Little V 2021, run by Johnny Wilkinson in Victoria, Australia. So this was 1 day, 3 games, using the new Blood Bowl 2020 rules. Did he put the rule set here? Oh man, thought I was prepared for this. All right, let's do this button because it would be cool to look at. They made a really lovely rule set for it. Really lovely.
Nice graphic design.
Yeah, it's just really lovely. Really, really well done. Here we go. I put the wrong link in. There we go. But fortunately, the link is on their page. So they had the players pack. They put it together. It was a 3-round tournament. But what we want to do is we want to look at the budget and the skills, because that tends to control everything. So they had a 1.15 million budget, so 1,150,000, a minimum of 11 players, including star players, which is not usual for Europe, but I think it is quite a popular format because you get to use star players more. It's not something we've ever done, is it, Ben? I don't think.
They've usually been handed on, right?
Yeah, because that's how the rulebook says, and we try to save our spread away from the rulebook powers by introducing random teams and mixed teams and nonsense. But this is a more straightforward one. So at 1150, you can include star players in your 11. The player advancements. This is really the interesting one. They went with tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, 36, 48, 60 SPP, and you can buy primary skills at 6 and doubles at 12. Can't remember if it was stacked or not. Yeah, you can stack skills. So, Ben, we've got the new rules system. We've historically done basically tier 1, this many regulars, this many doubles, that kind of stuff. This kind of equates to that, doesn't it? What do you think about this in the new system?
I like this a lot. We have touched on how we do this, but I think this is cool. I like the fact everything fits. Like in tier 2 isn't getting like 2.5 things. Like they're not forced into doing anything. You can take, because it's 6, 12, and then there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 is like multiples of 6 and 12. It all fits really nicely, and I think it's a very fair way of doing it. Secondaries are twice as valuable as primaries in normal play. Twice as valuable here.
There is a funny element here. In a league, in a tournament like this, what teams do you think would perform well? So basically, teams where a bunch of normal skills is going to do well. What teams?
Like a tier 1 team?
Yeah, well, just like in regular. I always thought Dark Elves would do well in a format like this because
like a specific team.
Even at tier 1, that is 6 dodge skills. That is, and at 150k over 1 as well. So that's basically a roster with 4 blitzers and 2 witch elves, and all 6 of those players have got blodge. Like that is tight. I know they're not throwing like they used to, but that is still a real tight list. And I do like this way of doing stuff because, like you said, Ben, actually,
it's simple.
Yeah. And it does kind of tie in. What do you think about the fact that there are no random skills here?
I think that's fine. I think that would cause a huge headache in terms of admin. I think if you had random skills, you'd have to do that all on the day.
Yeah.
That's just too much.
So with random skills, I think we talked about it before or something. The only way you can do it is have people submit their lists days in advance of the event, and then the TO essentially randomizes it beforehand. So you turn up and you've got your list. Because if you roll it on the day,
then it'll cause some contention between some players. I think
terribly sorry.
Like, absolutely not.
Everyone's got shadowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a tricky element to it. Okay, so we've actually seen the results here. Let's move in. We've got the results here. So the Little V 2021 results after round 3. So it's just a 3-round game. 3-round tournament. We like that for 11, so it gives you enough time to enjoy the games, really. You can fit 4 in a day, but it becomes pretty wearing and you don't get quite so much time. This way you get 2.5 hours basically per game. That's plenty of time. Mm-hmm. So, Khemri came in first place, with Skaven in second, Human at third, Dwarf at fourth, Underworld at fifth, Halfling at sixth, another Khemri team at 7, Nurgle at 8, ahead of Black Orc, then a Dwarf team, then a Skaven team, then a Snotling team, then a Chaos team, then an Undead team, Nurgle again, and Goblin. So cool that they got 16 teams. I think that was actually due to social distancing restrictions. I think they said there's only a limit to what we can have. We had 16, I think, at Mega Bowl. So I think kind of similar thing. So would you have expected Khemri to come first place, winning?
Absolutely not.
Incredible,
I'm
isn't it?
so surprised.
Absolutely incredible. Skaven makes sense. Human makes sense. Dwarf makes sense in this format. They're tier 1. That's 6 regular skills. That's a lot of guard. Okay, that's 4 guard blockers, a guard blitzer, and a block runner.
And there's quite a lot of dodge here.
Yeah.
You've got Skaven, Human, might have some Underworld, Halfling, another Skaven, Snotlings,
Black Orc as well.
Goblin.
Remember half that team.
Black Orc, yeah.
I
can see why.
Probably, well, they got 7 casualties. So yeah, but Khemri come in first place with 4-1 to touchdowns, 6-4 to casualties. I can only assume they won on touchdown differential. Skaven went 6 and 4 for touchdowns over the day. 6 touchdowns over 3 games is not a lot for Skaven.
No, you
So
kind of expect more. There's an Underworld team with 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. 10 to 3 on touchdowns, 3 to 15 on casualties. That's amazing.
That's Underworld.
Do you reckon that's Snotlings just dying in droves?
Have you seen that Goblin team at the bottom with the casualties?
14 casualties?
Yeah.
Ah, they must have won the Murder Cup. That's sweet.
Yeah. Came last place, but killed the most. Do you reckon did they say in the rule pack did like chainsaws and fowls count?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think that's the right thing to do. If they end up in the casualty box on your turn, if they end up in the casualty box on your turn, you get a point for casualties, whether it's surfing or fouling. I think it's just the easiest way to do it. And it's quite fun as well, isn't it? All right, so Khemri first, Skaven second, Human third, Dwarf, and then Underworld. I think, apart from the Khemri one, which I'm quite surprised at, I think that's fair. You know, Halflings come in sixth. We saw Joe Solo at one of our tournaments do a solid. Was it actually Mega? No, was it Beachhead? He ended up like
yeah, he did run Flings and Beachhead.
Yeah, and ended up like top 10 or something in a 40-person tournament, and with
They
Halflings like legitimately doing it. I think
we had Ian played Halflings the other night, or maybe last night, and
he went. We just 2-0 over Khemri.
Yeah, they're an all or nothing team, I think, aren't they? Sometimes they just do everything right.
You just run the dice. Cool. So we saw Khemri come first. Skaven makes a lot of sense there. 13 casualties against is, unfortunately, as a Skaven coach, bang on the money there. That's what I expect to see. So that's really cool. So this is the first tournament we've looked at. Khemri getting 6. No, they're tier 2. So that's 48 SPP. That's 4 doubles or 8 singles, essentially, isn't it? So there's a lot of skills you can take there. Haven't got access to the rosters, which is a shame because it'd be cool to look at to see what they spent their stuff on, because there's a load of skills and things you can do. So that was Little V with Khemri coming top. Second one we're going to look at is the Dogs of Wargaming Cup. This was America. This was in Florida, and this was also 1150. No, it wasn't. This was the one where team value was based on tiers. So tier 1 was at 1.1, tier 2 was 1.5, tier 3 was 1.2, and included skill and stat buying. So primary at 20, secondary at 40, AV 10, movement or passing 20k, edge at 40, and strength at 80. So what do you think about this format, Ben, where you just basically get X amount to build a team, including skills?
I think this works too. I think, a little bit more complicated than the other. A little bit more maths involved. Maybe a TO would have to do a little bit of, double checking, especially compared to the other one. I do quite like no more than 2 upgrades. It kind of disincentivizes stacking loads on one person.
Yeah, going full Captain America on a guy.
Yeah, stat upgrades are being allowed, though. That is a thing which
Danger,
I'm not sure. I think BB 2020 is balanced around them being very rare. And so offering them so freely here is a little bit, I don't know.
So talked about this one on the monthly meta, and a lot of the comments were like, this is dangerous because Amazons can just free roll everybody up to armor 9+.
Yeah.
They're like, this just seems risky. I do 10K. Like, yeah. However, for 20k, fixing your nobility thrower, Ben, to passing 2+, fixing your orc thrower to passing 2+, is quite interesting.
I like it because it definitely allows for experimentation. I think it's cool to have this because then you can see, is that really broken in 2020? It's a cool place to try it. And that's what tournaments are good for. Trying new stuff. I mean, passing, look at our ones.
Yeah, passing +1 plus accurate.
Yeah.
40k.
Does it work?
Oh, yeah, 1+ quick passes with a reroll. Nobility for the win.
You need 2 passing upgrades for nobility.
Yeah, there we go. So that was that. I don't know. I like this as well. We kind of used this at Beachhead, where you had X amount of upgrades based on your tier, and you can buy stats and things like that. But if you had a stat, you couldn't get a secondary skill, so you could spend all 50 of your 100k giving a wall dancer edge +1 in the old rules or whatever it was. But you'd have 50k's worth of stats, and that was it. And you couldn't double up a skill, so you couldn't build the 1-turn touchdown stuff. +1 movement here. Now movement's capped at 9. That does take away the old... Because if I was a Skaven coach and that rule hadn't changed, I'm looking at this thinking, All right, I'll take a 100k gutter runner who's movement 10. Yes, please. And then sprint, and just endlessly running touchdowns. But that is not the rule anymore. So, I've pressed the wrong button. They actually don't have the end results here, but Tomb Kings won this one as well. With Alpha Wolf, who's played in a couple of our tournaments. Hi, Alpha Wolf, running Amazons. Then Humans with most touchdowns, most casualties, Necromantic. Stunty Cup was Snotling. Best defense was Necromantic as well. Different Necromantic. And then Halfling got the Wooden Spoon. Do have their match results, though, here. Let's switch to advanced mode. Thank you, NAF. This is where I like a lot of the NAF stuff on the site, because you can see all the info. You can see all the matches and stuff like that. So there's one game which I thought was amazing, and I don't know if this is a typo or not, but the Snotling team went 4-0 against a human team.
That's insane.
In the first round.
That must have purely been horrible dice. Like, I can't see any other way.
Imagine. I think Snotlings are actually way better than we even thought they could be.
You reckon?
Yeah, that Snotling went 4-0. Another Snotling lost 2-1. Next round, Snotling won 1-0. That was the same Snotling, so he's 2-0 at the moment after the second round. The other Snotling team lost 3-1 to Lizards. I believe that. Then the Popo went 2-2 against Necro in round 3, and the other Snotling team lost again 3-1 against Necro. So I don't know if Necro is a good matchup for Snotlings. But just cool to see. Absolutely cool to see. But what I wanted to look at is see who this Khemri team played, because they came in. Oh, they're not called Khemri anymore, are they? They're called Tomb Kings. There we go. So 1-0 against Chaos Chosen, 1-0 against Human, and 2-0 against Orcs. That's pretty believable, Ben.
Yeah, I can see that.
Let's see who Alpha Wolf played. He 2-0'd an Amazon matchup, 2-1 Necro, and then 1-0 Dwarves with Amazons. Good boy.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like to see that. I mean, it's still Amazons, but, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's just
to see the underdog win.
It is kind of. It's like, that's a rock, paper, scissors matchup, and sometimes if your scissors cuts a rock, it's just boom.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So, Tomb Kings winning, going 3-0, is pretty cool. So 2 events, so the first 2 tournaments of 2020, both run and won by Tomb Kings. I would not have guessed that at all.
No, we didn't think they're going to be that hot in 2020, so it's cool to see this.
At first I was like, well, it's because they got 8 normal skills, like that's just an absolute sweet buff. In this one they had 1150 to spend including stats, so that's not quite. Tomb Kings struggle to get everything in for $1 million.
Well, you can get the ad you need. I mean, that makes them pretty good.
Actually, Ben, that's a really good point. I'd love to get my hands on the list for this as well, because, if they've just given...
Actually, Tomb Kings are suddenly broken. So.
Yeah, well, that's it, is if they've given Edge 3+ to their ball carriers, and then everyone else has just got block. Because, actually, this is a cost base, isn't it? So doubles are only 40k. Yeah. So, they've just spammed Brawler. Because here's a question for you, Ben. You got 4 Tomb Guardians. Would you rather take 2 block or 4 Brawler? You can meet in the middle and say 2 Brawler and 1 block.
I actually don't know. I don't know.
It's interesting.
I really don't know. Yeah, I know, because block and...
Or Mighty Blow spam is the other one you can go with Tomb Guardians.
Block and Wrestle are often quite common in tournaments. So Brawler kind of maybe has an advantage there.
You just get to re-roll it into a POW, I guess. You've
Roll
got the strength.
Power, yeah.
You've got the strength. I like Brawler. It is not as good as block.
Something.
But yeah, it's quite cool. It's quite cool. So that was the other tournament that has actually been played. There is another one being played on the day this podcast airs. So I thought we'd just have a quick look at that format as well. This is the Hangover Cup in Lustenau, Austria. It's run by Torsten. 1-150 skilling. This is quite fun, Ben. I think you'll like this. This is another 3-round game. After a heavy New Year's celebration, most players are quite hungover, so barely know what they're doing. During registration, each coach nominates 6 players of their team, and they will get 1 random primary skill to each of the players. Dice rolls made with the TO. During the lunch break, So players sober up and they get their knowledge back. The coach can now use the following SPP budgets to distribute among players. Stacking, secondary skills and stat increases are allowed. Any random skills or stat increases must again be rolled in the presence of the TO. So tier 1 36, tier 2 42, tier 3 50. So game 1, you've got 6 dudes with a random skill. Game 2 and 3, you've got that SPP budget to play. What do you reckon to this one? Because this is kind of like a weird hybrid of the other two.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rapid league, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do quite like this. I think still the random skills in a tournament is a little bit... I want to know how this went. Well, if it was smooth, if it was easy.
It hasn't happened yet, so...
Oh, this hasn't happened.
Yeah, this is on the 23rd.
Okay, man. I'd like to know how this goes when it happens. If people are going to this.
It's cool. It's such a cool idea. If you've got like 10 players, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
I think if you've got 16 plus players and they all need to roll 6 randoms and then they're all allowed to buy randoms, because when you've got these budgets, you're going to buy 2 randoms minimum, I think. Like 2 linemen, 2 randoms, or I can give 1 block, or I can just risk the random twice. Maybe I'll get kick, maybe I'll get wrestle on another guy. Like, you kind of... So everybody's going to be rolling at least a couple of randoms. There is going to be that coach that's just like, all right, I'll have all randoms, please. Because, it's just going to happen. What's that? What's random?
What's so much out of that? That's much.
Yeah, that coach is running either a tier 2 or a tier 3 team as well. So that's like 15 random skills.
Yeah, you do get a lot. Like, you're bound to get something you want.
I love it. But I think the reason I like these 3 tournaments is because they all kind of go a different angle of showing off a part of Blood Bowl 2020. The first...
100% agree.
I think the first one, the little V, is the cleanest.
I would totally agree.
For a format, I think it is the cleanest. I like the variable TV limit of the second one, and I like the way, I think you said, Ben, actually gives you a chance to play around with, is this player better with a stat up? Do I need this in league? Is this a good thing? I like that. From a competitive point of view, I think I also agree with you that it does warp the format a lot. Mm-hmm. If you can just auto roll that passing 2+, auto take that edge 3+, then you're not really playing your team anymore. If you can play Armor 9+ Amazons, then you're not really playing Amazons.
Maybe that's why they beat Dwarves.
Maybe. Alpha Wolf is a solid player, so I wouldn't put it past him to just win his way out. But it's, that's the positive and the downside of that one. And then this tournament here is making the most of the random skills. And Torsten's a highly efficient kind of guy, so I'm sure he's got it nailed down. He was he the guy who ran the World Cup? I think he was, actually.
The name is really familiar, so I think it was, yeah.
Torsten was vice president, and of course he was the one organising the World Cup. So, interesting. So, Ben, a miracle happens, and we're able to run a tournament in 6 months' time. What's your chosen format? What would you go for?
I'd go for number 1.
Yeah.
The little V tournament. Yeah, I think, like you say, it's cleanest. I think it's really good. It's good in the way that it's still Blood Bowl 2020, and you're still using like the primary, secondary stuff of Blood Bowl 2020, with like the SPPs they cost, while also, because it's still new to people, you're not throwing too much into the mix. It's not too much to remember. You're already remembering new rules.
Yeah, and you have got new teams, and every team has been adjusted. It's not the same team it was before. There are a couple that haven't changed a huge amount, looking at you, Dwarf players, but, everybody else has changed. There's new positionals, there's restrictions, there's new skills, there's literally new skills, and there's literally 3 new teams. So, yeah, I also like the way Little V's done. I just, it's just cool to see these different formats, and I'll be interested to see this one. So given that there's 6 random skills and then a bunch of this, who's going to win this format, Ben?
In which one?
In the most, Hangover Cup, the one run in Austria with the randoms because they're all drunk, which I think is brilliant.
I'm not sure. Probably Team Kings looking at the other 2.
Yeah, Tomb Kings and Snotlings seem to be doing very, very well right now. I don't know, man. I think this is an absolute free-for-all.
Yeah, I'm really keen to see how this goes, so I'll keep an eye on this, because
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's exciting to see how this goes. But I think I'm with you, man. I think I like the first one. It is the cleanest. It's amusing to hear us say that, given the kind of tournaments we run. But it is a new format, and when we went with Beachhead, yeah, we introduced a big guy, but the actual, I mean, they got like a 33% uptake of the big guy. And the winning list took the big guy, which means it might have been a bit too powerful. But I don't know. It was like, you kind of go to a tournament, you look at the meta, and you build your team to go to that meta, don't you?
Yeah.
But that first one is the cleanest, I think, to the rule set. Randoms I like. This will give you a good feel for that, and it's all experimentation. I think it's brilliant. I think it's really, really cool. I can't wait to run tournaments.
I know. I miss them.
I just can't. Really want to stream some live tournaments this year, but with social distancing, even in the pods, it's going to be really difficult. That would be that's one thing I really want to do this year is live stream some games one way or another. Just because that's the next stage, that's the next thing.
It's just going to be one step closer to your Anchorman dream.
Just want magic competitive stuff, but for Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl's just the best game in the world, with just absolute carnage and the most ridiculous coaches in the world. It's so good. Oh well, right. I think we're done, Ben. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I think that's everything.
I think that's everything too. So we will disappear now. There's a NAF tournament. Join in that. That'll be fun. And we've got a painting competition on the go. Join in that. That's good fun as well. We do have another competition that we actually haven't launched yet, but we need to do that pretty soon. I'll talk to Ben about that after the show. We'll get that launched soon. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks. For now, take care, be safe. Keep an eye on YouTube because we post content daily, so you can still get your little bit of Blood Bowl fix on the go. And Ben, thanks ever so much for hanging out for a couple of hours and talking Blood Bowl, man. It's wicked.
Thanks very much.
Right, we're going to disappear now, guys. Thanks very much for watching or listening, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.